I woke up in a special way this morning, this morning. I don't know why I feel this way this morning, but something really touched my soul this morning, this morning. Something precious more than gold this morning. Morning neighbor, hear me, I'll scream and shout, what's the matter? She asked me what it's all about. Something burning, burning deep within my soul. And this feeling I just can't control. I don't know if it's real, but I want to tell the world how I feel. You should love thy neighbor as thyself, I say, and put an end to violence. Come gather round, oh my children, I beg you, hold hand in hand. Are you ready to sing a song of peace and be happy? In a time like this, it's not yet too late. We could break down the barriers of hate. You should love thy neighbor as thyself, I say, and put an end to violence today. Help your fallen brother by the way, and surely we will see a brighter day. Neighbor, 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 love thy neighbor. Neighbor, 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 love thy neighbor. Mash it up. neighbor, love thy neighbor, 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 love thy neighbor. Come, reach out and touch thy neighbor. Too long we living like strangers. Reach out and touch thy neighbor. I tell you, too long we living like strangers. Neighbor, 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 love.
Good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, wherever you are locally, regionally, internationally. It's a special good night to you from the Talking Points family.
But music is me. I'm a music man. Music in me.
We say special good night to all of you joining us on the YouTube, all of you joining us via the Facebook,
Give me short music in me.
all of you who may be joining us via 91.9, 91.5 Real FM, those of you joining us via We Noise Radio, those of you tuned in via the Talking Points website. Yes, we do have a website, you know, yeah.
I'm a music man. My brother, my sister.
So we say a special Grenadian good night to each and every one of you.
Is music. All my little children is music too.
I realize social media and thing hot today, boy. You was this thing, come on, thing on me, come off me. Yeah, nice, yeah.
Lord.
Man, would you all believe I just got into Studio 3 probably about 5 minutes ago,
Oh, this love music.
Well, no, a little over 5 minutes, maybe about 15 minutes ago, yeah. 5, yeah. So I've been in a rush, but we've got a lot to talk about tonight. And before we get into some other discussions, because I see some things, we will talk about it, you know. Don't feel we ain't talking about what's going on the carnage there in the police headquarters. Don't feel we are talking about, we're going to talk about it tonight, you know. Yeah, but first of all, we want to do our interview with Mrs. Nolene Thompson, yeah. And we will be heading over to that in a short. Yeah, we'll be heading over to our interview with Mrs. Nolene Thompson. And don't leave at the end of the interview, you know. It is a pre-recorded interview, so just letting you all know early, it is pre-recorded, yeah? We're gonna go to that interview in about the next 2 minutes. That's exactly when it's 8, well, one of them saying 8:15, one saying 8:14. So we're gonna go to that interview now, and then remember, when we end that interview, we have some things to talk about. Yeah, we want to know what's going on with the police officers. Good night to the men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Yeah, we will be discussing at the end of this interview. Yeah, we go be having a chat. Believe me, we go be having a chat. So, right, good evening, folks. And we have on with us tonight the lovely Mrs. Nolene Thompson. Let me just get Mrs. Nolene Thompson on with us. And nice, beautiful. Good night to you, ma'am. And how are you doing?
Good night to you, Sheldon, and good night to all the listeners and viewers. I am actually excellent. Excellent, excellent. Can't describe myself being any better than excellent.
Indeed. And this is your first time on Talking Point, so we'd like to thank you for coming on with us. We are indeed pleased to have you on Talking Points with us. You were recently installed as the caretaker for the I don't know how you're doing it now, girl. St. David is a real big area. When you talk about St. David, it's actually, if I'm not incorrect, the biggest constituency by size. Yeah, it's the biggest by size.
Yes, we are.
Not an easy task. So you're the standard bearer of the new national party in that constituency. How has it been going for you thus far?
It's been great. I don't like using negative terms, but it's been great. The feedback that I've been receiving from the people in St. David's has been awesome. It makes my heart feel so full. Being on the ground and meeting the constituents every single day, hearing the stories, the good ones, the not so great ones. But it's made me realize how much I love doing this. I didn't think that I would love it so much. And not because of the feedback that I'm getting, but because I get to meet so many people on a daily basis that touches my heart one way or the other.
Yes, indeed. And we know this is not new ground to you. You've been involved in St. David for many, many years. You ain't just reach. You've been
no.
in St. David for many years. Let's go back now. Who is Mrs. Nolene Thompson? And we're going to start from exactly where you're from, and we're coming up the road. So give us a little historical perspective. No, we're not dealing with revisionist history here. Give us a little historical perspective of where you're from in St. David and your upbringing, all of that.
So I was born at home. My mom was renting a place in PT Esperance. It's people in St. David's would know where the doctor has his office right now. There used to be a pharmacy downstairs, but back in the day, my mom was renting the upstairs there. And that's where she had me. She had me in PT Esperance. And then we moved back into Mount Annan, where I grew up. I attended the St. David's RC school until I was 10 years old. I have very fond memories of St. David's RC. I passed common entrance when I was 10, and I got to attend St. Joseph's Convent, St. George's. And I stayed in St. Joseph's Convent until I graduated. And my parents, they left Grenada when I was, my mom left first. And I think my mom left sometime, I think maybe 85. And then daddy left around 86. So I grew up with my grandmother in an extended household until we were sponsored to go to Canada when I graduated. My dad, we went to Canada before, but we hated it at the time. Like my brother and I, we just didn't want to stay. And I remember us fighting, oh, we want to go back home. And my father was like, no, okay, fine. And my mom was like, you know what, okay, fine. If you guys want to go back, you can go back. And when I graduated, my father said I didn't have a choice at that time. I needed to come. And my brother didn't finish. I think he was in Form 4 or Form 3, somewhere there. And we left and moved to Canada. We went, even though I graduated from convent, I was still so young that I had to go back to high school in Canada. And I remember my accent, as a young Grenadian, I had such a strong accent, my brother and I. And I remember they put us in ESL. And ESL, you'd know, is English as a second language. Why? Because they thought that we weren't speaking English. So I remembered I had a distinction in English language when I did CXC. So just imagine putting a student, who had a distinction in English into an ESL, English as a second language class. Why? Because and it was a class where I was with children who didn't speak English at all, children who was from different places in Africa, different places in South America. And I remember my teacher realized really, really quickly, my brother and I, we were A students in English. And I remember my guidance counselor in school, telling me that, I was so great with the English language that the best thing for me to do was to go into journalism. I remember, in high school, around Christmas time, they would allow me to go on the PA and speak. And I remember playing, Caribbean Christmas songs, and that's where I really started with my love and my passion for journalism, because my guidance counselor told me that. And then I went off and I studied journalism, broadcast, radio, and television. And I did that in my early years. I think when I was about 21, 22 there, 23, I did that. I worked on one of the first Black owned radio station in the country at the time. I actually started as an intern, and they hired me full time. And I was a news reporter at the time. So right up to there. Yeah, so I got married at a pretty young age. I was 22 years old when I got married, and my husband then and I had our first son when I was, I think I was only 23 when I had my first son, and then I had my second son at 28, and then I have my 5-year-old now. But one of the things I always wanted to do as a person living in Canada, and I must go back because sometimes you hear people talk about my accent. It was very difficult for me when I first came to Canada, being stereotyped with an accent. It was, people would say that they didn't understand what I was saying half the time. And it was a challenge. And I remember when I went off to study journalism, I remember in one of my speaking classes, it was my announcing class. And I get emotional when I say that because I remember my teacher telling me that, you live in Canada, and if you want to be successful in journalism, you have to speak as a Canadian. And I remember my classmates, they stood up for me boldly and say, you know what, you can't do that. But it was something that was always in my head, that if I had to be successful, that I had to make sure that I sounded Canadian. So, coming to Canada as a child, and living here for so long, of course, you'll have an accent, but I haven't forgotten my roots. I haven't forgotten who Nolene is. And if I really wanted to say something, it depends on the environment. It comes and goes. It's almost a person who speaks 2 different languages. You know what I mean? How do you think? Do you think, sounding with a Canadian accent, or do you think sounding with a Grenadian accent? It's all natural, So anyways, I said that part of the story, but I always wanted to come back home. It was always something in me that wanted to come back home. And when I got the opportunity to come back home back in 2017, I took that opportunity. I remember I sold everything. I sold my car, my home, every single thing that I owned. And, my family and friends was saying, are you mad? Even people in Grenada would say to me, like, why would you leave Canada to move back to Grenada? Like, are you crazy? No, I'm not crazy. This is home for me. The level of comfort and stresslessness I feel living in Grenada is beyond anything that you'd imagine. It is home for me, and I love being home. I love it, So I guess this is my story up until now, yeah? I think you asked me part of, in Canada, back in 2012, my mom was back in Grenada at the time, and she was heavily involved with the NNP. And I remember she came to my brother and I and said to us that, you guys have to be involved in NNP in some way in Canada. And I remember, going to a few meetings with the support group, the New National Party support group here in Toronto. And within a couple months, they elected me as the president. So I've been involved in NNP politics since I think back in 2012. And since then, even when I moved back home, I was actively engaged in the politics with the New National Party. So I'm not new to politics or new to NNP. I've been there. I just wasn't in the forefront. I tell people if they listen to all the ads back in 2018 when we did that election, they'd hear my voice on all the ads, But yeah.
So you've been involved with the party, and as a person who's been involved with the party for a long time, I could confirm that what you're saying is absolutely true, that you've been involved from since then. And you've always been there lending assistance wherever you can. What a lot of folks may not know is that that is not the only area you've been working in, not just in politics and not just in the media and so on, but that you have been working in several other areas. Even recently, at your induction as caretaker, you did mention the area of care for children, and especially children who they're differently abled and so on. You did mention that. Give us some insight into that particular area.
Yeah. Specifically, children who's on the spectrum, autism spectrum, or children who have developmental delays in some way. When I moved, so I have a son who is currently 17 years old, who was diagnosed with autism when he was 2.5 years old. And he was diagnosed with that while we were living in Canada. One of the great things about him being diagnosed is that I knew something was wrong because I had a son who was a little bit older, and I knew that something wasn't quite right. The way he would focus, the way he would respond when he's called. And it wasn't that he was deaf, because we did a deaf test. He wasn't deaf. But eventually he was diagnosed, and once he was diagnosed, I was able to get all the support that I needed for a child with autism. I was very, very fortunate. From program to program to program, and he did exceptionally well. One of the things that I thought about when I was moving home was, would there be this particular resources for a child like Bryce, who was on the spectrum? And when I moved home, I realized really early that there was no real resources. There are people who say that they have, programs for autism, but it's not a system where, a child can be diagnosed with autism. People guess because some of them may have a child who, I can tell a child who's autistic just by me looking at the child. And, for me having a child who's special needs, I can tell there are certain things like the flapping or, the rocking or the humming that you can identify really quickly. But for real resources where a child can have ABA services or IBI, intensive behavioral intervention, we don't have that in Grenada. We do have Pathway, and she is actually doing really well. And she was one of the first persons that I met back when I wanted to get Bryce some sort of resource that does occupational therapy, and that has helped Bryce a lot in the past few years. But what I had to do was, when I put Bryce in school, I put him in a private school because I knew that there were no resources capable, in the public schools. But I had to find someone. I had to pay someone out of pocket to be in the classroom with him. And I had to get all the resource materials from Canada to bring it in Grenada for that teacher, that assistant could be with Bryce. Again, it was still challenging because even though he was in a private school, even though I asked them for, they were giving Bryce everything, all the different subjects, and he was doing well, but I realized he started to regress when it came to interpersonal skills. Children like that, they're very bright. They're very, very brilliant. And some of them are capable of doing the chemistry and the physics and stuff like that. But what it does to the development is it regresses them. So I had to take him out from the private school, and I had to have someone homeschool him. And he's doing really, really, really well now. So a friend of mine, I met someone, in one of the other businesses that I do, who has a PhD in ABA. And herself and myself, together with an occupational therapist, we decided to do something that is more valuable because she's done it in a different country and it's worked. And every single I've been to every ministry, looking for support. I've given them, everything. This woman, she's not Grenadian. She lives abroad, and, she's traveled a few times to come back to Grenada to go with me so we can push, for that resource, for that help. And, everyone says it's great, but, there's no support, there's no assistance. But we're continuing. We're pushing forward. We really, really want to engage families. A lot of families has seen me and they've heard me, and I support a lot of people on not I don't like to publicize the things that I do, because I'm not here looking for any credit or validation, but I do help a lot of families who has children with special needs in whatever way I can, if it means financial support where I can, or just emotional support, or even just to have a conversation, because you have a lot of parents right now who I know parents who have multiple children with special needs. It's hard for one, and to have two, where do you go to work? You can't go to work because you get called to say, well, the child is not behaving, so you need to come take the child, right? And it's unfortunate that we have to have so many families. It doesn't matter. Autism is not about poor people. Autism affects every single type of person. And even if you have money in Grenada, you do not have the resources. You still need to figure out a way of supporting your child with special needs. And it's not about only them being children, but young adults and older people as well. What do we have to help those persons? And right now, I would say that I haven't seen anything in Grenada that comes close to being what is needed for children with that type of disability.
Now, over the years, there but there have been many, literally probably hundreds or even into the thousands of young people that have been in the primary school system, the secondary school system, and were either taken out also because they say, well, that one, you can't learn, you head hard, and that sort of thing. So over the years, you may have even identified some back when you were in primary school,
Yeah.
in Grenada, and secondary school that were on the spectrum, but at that time it was not something known. Do you see within the educational system in Grenada right now that there is that sort of education amongst the teaching fraternity to identify things like autism, to identify that this child is on the spectrum? They may be on a lower scale on the spectrum, but they're on the spectrum. Or this child is dyslexic. Do you see that is, the training is there, that they are able to identify, and then that they're able to either make a recommendation to the parent, to the school, to wherever, the Ministry of Education? Because many times what we find is that those children, they simply just, that child, send them to the school for special education. Just send them to the school for special education, which may not always be the best option, but send them to the school for special education. Is it a situation that because you've been through the different ministries, are you seeing that, what I'm talking about now, and have you seen that before, back when you were in the primary school system? Because it's not a new problem.
So back in the day, you had those children, yes, that you would say that they hard-headed, or or they have behavioral issues, because children who's on the spectrum, they don't know how to communicate effectively what they're feeling. So of course they will lash out. But yeah, when I was younger, there were people that I can think about now. I don't want to call their names, but I can think about children that would have been in school with me, who would have fit that mold of children who's on the spectrum. I think the conversation has gone to a place where people are more aware of autism. Do the teachers have the capacity, or do they have the knowledge or the education or the training to identify these children? I don't think so. Now, someone like myself, as I said, who's been through all the courses and all the programs as a mom, I could identify a child. And there's some very key, characteristics, especially the flapping. A child may walk around flapping, and you may think it's just normal and the child is just having fun. But you can tell when a child is flapping that a child, they tend to hum a lot, or they tend to, rock, or they tend to be, very, very hyper, jumping. They're always on the go. So I think a teacher will identify, but to say, okay, well, they're trained to know, well, that child is on the spectrum or have a developmental delay, I don't think that they have that in Grenada right now. Because all the schools that I put my son in, none of the teachers have that experience. And they're dealing right now. I know schools where they're dealing with children with special needs, and the children are walking around the school, they're walking around the classrooms, the teachers don't know what to do with them. They should just leave them to just be. you know, and that is not right. You know, these children need to have intervention. And what I've learned is that a child before 7 years old who has intervention could develop and have their own level of independence. You know, my son had intervention early, and he's now able to cook. He can make his own pizzas. He knows to go in the oven and how to put it on and how to take it off. He can cook his own mac and cheese. He can survive on his own. If he's hungry, he can go find whatever he needs. And it's not because, my mom would say, oh, nothing is wrong with Bryce, he will grow out of it. No, it takes work. It takes work, and you as a mom cannot, what I've noticed that some parents are in denial. They do not want to accept that their child has a problem. So they will deny it and hoping that somehow they will get over it. They'll grow out of it. But it's not growing out of it. The earlier you intervene with a child with special needs who's on the spectrum, it's better for your child to have some level of independence when they're older. So I think education is important. Education not just only for parents, but education for the teachers as well. And I think the ministry has to do a lot more in educating and training teachers to deal and cope with children who's on the spectrum.
So if given the opportunity, as part of a government, one of the things that you would be pushing for, from what I'm understanding here, is that there is special focus on this particular area, whether it be within the existing school system or the creation of alternative routes for children who have that, training for teachers within the school system in relation to this area, and provision of special assistance to parents of how to deal with these children. As those are some of the areas that you definitely, from what that's what I pick up from what you've been saying.
We've created, my team and I, we've created an entire plan from start to finish, thinking about everything that worked and what didn't work, and created a plan. So we have a plan for that. And yes, this is one of the things that I'm passionate about. And this is one of the things that I will definitely push for in our education system once we win the next election. It will, hands down, it is one of the priorities that because it is a priority. Our children are important, and we cannot have people marginalized. It is important. So yes, it's one of the things that I will definitely be advocating for once our party wins the next election.
We've recently seen a report by another fellow, how could I put it, Grenadian, in relation to your interactions in St. David, and he was very high in praise of your approach to politics. He was impressed with your approach to how you've been dealing with the people of St. David and we've been seeing videos. I see videos, you're climbing hill, things scratching your foot. I see you going uphill to go and see projects that guys doing. You're all over. In fact, people say they don't know if you sleep because they find every time they're seeing you, you're in some part of St. David, people seeing you all over. And it is, again, we go back to this, it's the largest constituency, and you're all over. How do you do it? How do you have all the energy to be able to carry out the tasks that you do on a daily basis? How do you do it?
I believe that I was chosen to do this now at this point. I believe that that's where I'm getting all my strength from. But, as much as I go there every single day, I never get everything done what I want to get done. And sometimes I'm out there at nighttime because people are waiting for me and I can't not go, because, whenever I'm going somewhere, the leads in the area would tell everybody, okay, well, Ms. Thompson is coming. So it's hard for me to go somewhere and meet residents and just have a 1-minute conversation. I can't do it. I cannot do it. I have to speak to everyone and hear them out. So you'd realize that sometimes I have to go back to the same community a couple of times because I got halfway and I'm not finished. And they will say, Ms. Thompson, we have to go faster. I can't go faster. I really can't, because it's hard when you go out, and first of all, I'm new to doing this. I'm hearing people, and I believe in listening. The only way you can truly make a difference is by listening to the people that you're about to serve. Sometimes we forget that these are the people who put us in power. These are the people who put us where we are. And sometimes we take the approach where, you're just going to visit them because it's an opportunity for you to, just have just to show yourself. When you go to your residents and your people in your communities, you have to listen. You have to spend the time to listen. And I don't care how long it takes me to listen, I will listen. That's important, is listening, because people want to feel heard. Everybody has a story to tell. And you want everyone to feel that, this person is listening to my story, and this person is going to do and act upon my story. And if you don't listen, you can't act. Then it will be a top-down approach where you're trying to make policies based on what you think you know, as opposed to what you actually know. So it's important for me to, meet everyone. Yes, trust me. Sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes I get home, I shower, and I go to sleep. My husband. My husband says, well, where's my time? And I said, don't worry, you agreed for me doing this. So you have to, it's a sacrifice that you have to take right now. But I love being out in the communities, and I go out every single day. As I say, rain or shine, I'm going, rain or shine, I'm going. Because there are people who, I have young people reaching out to me in my messenger. They don't know a phone number, they don't have a phone number, so they will send me messages in Messenger. And, Ms. Thompson, can you come to this community? Can you come to here? Because again, remember, St. David is large. So I can't get to everywhere that I want to be within a week, So sometimes they feel like, you haven't gotten to us yet. So when are you coming to see us? So, and I don't want to disappoint anybody in the sense that, that they're asking for me to come, and I say, okay, well, I can't come. I will make the time to come. So yes, every single day I'm out.
Yes, indeed. And folks, we are speaking here with Mrs. Nolene Thompson. She's the new National Party caretaker for the St. David constituency. Yes, indeed. And she is doing an excellent job out there. Everybody is Nolene right now. The nickname is the, I wonder if I should mention the nickname during the interview, but the nickname is the flight controller.
Air traffic controller, I think. Air traffic controller.
Air traffic controller. That's the name that we're hearing right now. So certain people grounded. But we are studying the other people. I know right now the focus is the people of St. David. That's who we're studying.
Yes.
And she's doing an excellent job at that. Now, you've been going around the constituency. You've been going around. I know you've also been working along with some of your other people who have been brought in as the caretakers and some existing caretakers. You've been working along with them as well. What are some of the main issues that you have been picking up in St. David as you've been going around? What are some of the main things that people have been saying to you, Ms. Thompson? We won't give you the opportunity, but when you get in there, this is what you have to deal with for us. We behind you, we support you, we believe in you, but we want you to deal with this issue for us. What are some of the issues that you've been picking up?
The biggest issue that I found, and you'll be surprised. I remember I told you that I'm getting these messages in my messenger, in my inbox from young people. And it is quite sad that they feel left out. You hear a lot of talk about, and you see it, people saying, well, oh, this is a problem that's been going on with young people forever. It's not a new problem. But does it mean that you have to forget it because it's not a new problem, or ignore it because it's not a new problem? Young people are feeling lost. And you hear the argument that, some of these young people don't want to work. They don't want to work. There's work out there, but they don't want to do it. But if you are traumatized, as so many of these young people are, if you are traumatized and you don't have proper counseling or proper mentorship, do you think that you'd want to get up every single day? Because, just think about us as grown-ups. Some days you feel so stressed out that you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to move because you don't have to deal with anything. I realize that a lot of young people are hurting. They need some sort of guidance. They have problems in their homes, in their families, because, and yes, I remember growing up, my parents weren't there, but it was a different time. There was no social media to make you feel that you have to be a person that you're not, that you have to, pretend, because social media is a lot of pretense. It's not reality. So you have all these young people with so much stuff that they have to deal with, the influence of their peers, the influence of social media, not having the proper guidance at home, not having the proper guidance at schools. They're lost. And it breaks my heart, to be quite honest. I have 3 boys myself, and I've had to be, and I believe that as parents, we have to love our children. We have to show, not every day is easy, and sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you will get be frustrated with your children. You may yell, but at the end of the day, your children are still human beings, and they need to know that you love and you care for them. It's not about being rich or poor. Caring is innate. It's human. So if your child is hurting, you don't tell your child, well, grow up. Be a big person. You have to find out from your children, what is the problem? And, my brother told me a story recently, and I didn't have that same experience. I mean, he had a negative, traumatic experience with one of our teachers when we were in primary school. And he even today, the resentment he had because of the way that teacher talked to him. I was in the same class, and I had that same teacher, and I didn't feel that way, But yesterday I was having a conversation with him and a few others who were in the same class, and they were telling me the same thing. So you have teachers who are not properly trained, with no guidance counselors in schools. I believe that every single school from elementary to high school should have guidance counselors, trained guidance counselors, to help our children, to be that confident, to be able to answer questions, to steer children in the right direction. And they don't have that. So we don't have it in the school. We don't have it at home. So you have a lot of young people who's looking for love and looking for care, and they get it from their friends on the block. That's where they find the love. And that's what they're telling me. I don't find it at home. I find it with my friends. And these are the friends who sit down with them and smoke weed. These are the friends who sit down and play the how do you call that card game where they have the money on the table and they flip in the cards.
I don't know the name myself because I don't like it.
Yeah, but you know what? That's where
Wapi. I think that's
Wapi. Yes,
Wapi, yes.
That's where they find. That's where they find the love and the care and the support. Now, if a child is so busy with work, when they get home, they're too tired. They don't want to go and play Wapi because they want to sleep for the next day. So we have to, we talk about I hear that all the time. We talk about what didn't happen in the past. Oh, the programs in the past didn't work. But I say, if the programs in the past didn't work, now Grenadians made a mandate for change. They kicked out the administration because they wanted change, because you said you were going to be that change. Now, why are you spending so much time talking about what did not work in the past? Your responsibility is to say, you know what? This did not work in the past, but here is what we are doing to change that. We're implementing these new programs, or we've implemented these new programs, because you had 3 years already to implement the programs that didn't work. So I don't want to hear right now what did not work under the new National Party. I want to hear what you're doing to change what did not work, because you said that you'll make the change. It should be implementation now. It shouldn't be you campaigning on what did not work. You can't be in campaign mode. You have to be in implementation mode. And that's not what I'm seeing. And, I will support, and I'm sure so many other Grenadians will support things that will work. If we know it didn't work, nobody wants to be supporting something that didn't work. But if you have a difference and you have a change and you have a policy or whatever it is, or program that will work, implement it. Let's not harp on the past. Let's harp on what it is that we want. And there's an analogy about the driving and the windshield being bigger and the rearview mirror being smaller. Why? Because you don't want to focus too much on the past. You want to focus on the now, on the current. And that's what people want. They say, what, Ms. Thompson, I don't want to hear the bickering. But what happened in the past? I don't care what happened in the past. What is going to be done for me now? What is going to be done for me now? And I think the most important things that we need to think about, we have a lot of young people with no skills, no training. What happened to the programs? I remember being in St. David's RC, and Mr. Dominic McSween, he was running a class, a woodwork class. Where are those classes? We had a skills training center in St. David's. No, you have St. David's children having to go to Newlo, or go into some other vocational school that is not in St. David's. What happened to the skills training centers right in the communities, right in the constituency or in the parish? Why aren't we not, developing our children's skills? Why are we, they were building Silver Sands and they were building, Six Senses, and we were importing skilled workers. Why do we have to import skilled workers when we have so many people here that we can train and develop on their skills? And the only way for us to do that is to have more vocational training. Now, we focus so much on academics. A child who's not academically inclined, when they finish, they will go through high school for 5 years, and they finish high school in 5 years, and they do CXC, and they have 0. Does that motivate that child? He feels, look, and his parents, look, you went and wasted 5 years. Do we really need to have children who are more vocational, or who are more skill trained, or who are more skill bound, going through a process of 5 years where they feel when they finish that they didn't succeed? Have we looked at what will benefit these children? More vocational institutions, we need to have those. More mentorship programs for our young people. More social spaces that they can be, where they can learn and they can teach others. But right now we don't have social spaces for them. So guess what they do? They go in the block and they hang out there. Right? So we need to stop talking about what could or should have been done, and let's talk about what needs to be done and implement what needs to be done. Because I will support anybody who will support our young people, regardless to who they are. I'm not talking about just the marginalized. I'm talking about every young person in the country, whether they're academic or they're more skilled. We have to find the resources to assist these young people. We need to have it. And right now, I don't see it happening because there are too many young people who are sitting around not doing much. And it's not because, I don't believe that because they're lazy. They just don't have the motivation because no one motivates them. What is there to motivate them? They're crying inside. They're looking for our help. And what we do is we attack them. Oh, young people are wasting time. Oh, those young people in them have no good mind. Oh, they have work for them, they don't want to do it. Right? What else are we doing to motivate them, to engage them, to make them feel that they're loved and they're cared for and they're just not a waste of space? So this is what I've been hearing a lot on the ground, and it's the biggest issue that I have is that our young people are not giving the right chances. We are too focused on academic and pushing our children to succeed academically, when that space is only a few spaces. But young people don't realize that as a skilled worker, the amount of money you can make as a skilled worker, as a mason, as a carpenter, as an electrician, as a mechanic, there's so much wealth in these businesses. But we don't push it because somehow our children should be only lawyers and doctors and bankers, and that's it. But we need to advocate for our young people on a wide spectrum of things to help them develop into the best human beings that they can develop to be.
Yes, indeed. And once again, for those of you just joining us, I'm speaking, and this is pre-recorded because I know some of you could be messaging and so on. Even though you hear me say good night, this is pre-recording. You go hear birds singing in the background. You might hear rain just now. You go hear a helicopter pass. You might hear things. So just letting you all know this is pre-recorded. We like to be totally honest with people. It is pre-recorded. Mrs. Thompson, you spoke about the young people and the training and so on. One of the things that I've noticed going around over the years is that you have some very skilled young people. Some of them are very skilled. And you have two issues there. One, talent identification. So you have young ladies and young men who have they're very talented in a particular area, but you don't have that identification that, hey, this person is a good artist. They do painting and so on. We need to guide them in this area. Or this guy is good with his hands in relation to carpentry or in relation to carving and so on, and we need to guide them in that direction. So that a lot of them are talented, but there's no talent identification to identify them. And I'm not speaking here of when they're already leaving the school system, but early up to identify them at that time and say, you should think about this area. And the second one before you jump in is on certification. Because whilst Silver Sands and so, they wanted people, for instance, to do tiles and they had to bring in guys, there may have been guys that were just as good or even better here, but they were not certified.
Yeah. So that comes back to my point of academic and vocational. I believe that children, a child, from the time a child, probably it's like 5, 6, you already know what they're good at. They show, they exhibit, things that could, whether it's going to be with their hands and stuff. So the programs I was in school before, like the woodwork program, right? If we keep these programs in primary school, because I think, how old are they until they go to high school? It's like 12?
11, yeah.
11, 12, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So if we have these programs, let's say from standard, I think back in my day, standard 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Don't show your age by saying standard, because now I think they have
grade. Yes,
I
grade.
had to say standard 2s, but
yeah. But if we have these programs in school, because I remember in RC we had home ec, the girls went to home ec and the boys went to woodwork. I mean, right now, boys want to do home ec, girls want to do woodwork. I mean, it's whatever it is, whatever. But once you have that program in the school, you can identify the children since then. And I believe that, every child probably should go to, let's say, Form 1. Make it mandatory to get to Form 1. Then we can identify at Form 1 children who are more academic or children who may seem more vocational. Teachers are able to identify children who may be more vocational than academic. You can see it. At that point, you identify the children at that age. And then instead of them going through that whole other 4 years of academic, make it mandatory that English and math are mandatory. Send them to a vocational skills training school where they have the home ec, the nail tech, the mechanic, the electrical, people who are more towards that vocational, who you can identify, and have them go through that process so that when they finish school with a certification in whatever it is that they're the best at. Some kids may be good at tiling and masonry. Some kids may be good at, but you, instead of having to do 12 subjects, English, math, chemistry, physics, biology, all of these things, then they do mechanic, electrician, they do all of these instead and see what they're better at. And then at the end of that 4 years, they must do CXC for math and English. It's mandatory. But then they also are certified in a specific skill training program.
So a different approach to what takes place now, because my personal belief is that we need to overhaul not just of the Grenada education system, but the regional education system. CXC, that needs a total overhaul. I think that our regional educational system is still geared towards creating workers and not entrepreneurs. So we try to create the guys who in Form 1 and Form 2, they tell you they want to go and work in a bank. they want to become a teller and see if they could get a higher position, instead of deciding, I want to get into agriculture and be the guy who brings the bag of money into the bank. I want to be a plumber who works along as part of a cooperative with 3 or 4 of you, and we're doing plumbing, we have a company, and we're bringing bags of money into the bank. You, my friend, you could work in the bank, we're going to bring the money into it. And we keep, as an educational system, creating these workers and not the entrepreneurs, not the people who own the businesses, but the people who work for businesses. And due to that, I think there needs to be revolutionary thinking in the regional educational system, and how we approach education in the Caribbean needs to be changed totally. If you look at some of the other models, the Asian models, you look at even some of the models in the US and in Canada, you realize that there's the element of entrepreneurship that's entered into. I remember years ago attending a conference in the US, and they were doing it through Google. Google had was funding these startup businesses with little children about 7, 8 years old, but it got them into entrepreneurship, learning how to run a business and to save money and to expand and so on. And most of them, they would do the little lemonade stand, and that's, the Americans like the lemonade stand, do their lemonade stand and so on. And in our educational system, and again, it's not just a Grenada problem, it's a regional problem, we have to start moving from that, I'm going and work for somebody, or into, I'm going to get people to work for me. Stop being the consumer and start being the producer. I think that's where our educational system needs to go.
But even before we get there, we need to get them the training that they need first, the skill, to develop on their skill set first. And then that can always come after. But you're right, in teaching them how to own their own business. And these are all the things that, I have a lot of ideas. I don't want to talk about too much of my ideas.
No, we ain't talking about the ideas now. No.
I don't want to give too much of my ideas, but I have some
1 or 2 issues, but we ain't going deep.
Yeah. So, but don't think that I don't have ideas. Trust me, I have a lot of ideas. Sometimes you hear people saying, "Oh, what ideas does she have?" Yes, Nolene has a lot of ideas, and real sound ideas that can be implemented really quickly. Once we have the support. We really need to fight for our young people, especially those, who we see, on the street now, as hustlers. We don't want, you realize that when these kids have so much time on their hands, what do you think about? It's nothing good. But if they're so busy trying to learn a trade or learn a skill, they're so tired when they get home, they don't have time to go back on the block to hang out with nobody. They just want to go to shower and go to sleep to get up for the next day. But we need to have, it's important, I think, for us to have counselors, guidance counselors. It worked for me as a young person here in Canada, when I was living in Canada. Having a guidance counselor that I can go to, and you have an appointment and you sit down and they really ask you the questions, and you can cry, you can, whatever it is, and they help you. We need to have those counselors available in our country as well. You have to, because a lot of kids are carrying a lot of weight and burden that they shouldn't be carrying at a very young age. And it's messing with their mental capabilities as well. And we need to, otherwise, I tell you, if we don't do something now, we're going to have a generation of just bitter and, children who, young adults who just seem lost.
They've given up, to an extent, they've given up on life. It's just like whatever happens, happens. And we see that in some of our sister territories, where you have some young people that they call themselves killers. They say, well, I was looking at a video from one island just yesterday, and there were these young guys talking about, they were saying they're a killer, and all their friends are killers too, and if you come around them, well, they're going to kill you. That sort of attitude, and the brandishing of weapons, and the seeking it out, and the alcohol together with the drugs and everything, and just that whole lifestyle of, I don't care if I see tomorrow, I'm living for now, I'm living for today, and if I die tomorrow, I really don't care about that. That's
and I don't believe that. I don't believe, to be quite honest, I don't believe I don't believe that they mean that.
Yeah.
I think it's just an act, because they're looking for attention. Now, negative or positive, they're looking for attention. And how do I get attention? It doesn't matter if I brandish a gun and say I'm a killer, you know, or I take something, another positive note. They will seek attention however they can get it. It's for us as parents and as a society to help our young people realize their value and their worth. I went to a community, and I was standing in a shop, and there was this young man who came around. He must have been, he was 18 years old, he told me. And I was there talking to him, and there was an older gentleman, probably a man in his 60s, right? And he says to me, "Miss, don't waste your time on that boy. That boy do good. That boy have costs." And I'm like, you as an adult, gonna say that to an 18-year-old child? You give up on him already. That boy do good. No, if that child keeps hearing in his head, that boy do good, repeatedly, that boy do good, what do you think he will do? Now, I put my hand, that man got me so annoyed. So I said to him, I said, let's go outside, you know, let's just, because I mean, what I wanted to tell that man, you know, wouldn't have been respectful. So I told him, you know, let's go outside. And he was, you know, all kind of like, you know, he was, you know, tough, you know, miss. And I just put my hand on his shoulder. And I said to him, I said, you know what? You don't have to be that boy that everybody think you are. You don't have to be that person for your friends to think that, you know what, you're tough. I said to him, I said, you need to be you. I said, all you need is someone to say, I love you. And that boy just crumbled. I said to him, I said, I'm a mom of boys. And it was just me telling him that I believe that you're different. I believe in you. And that boy put his head down in his lap and he started crying. You know? I didn't do anything except tell him that I believed in him and tell him that, you know what, that old man who's saying that about you, that's not who you are. A lot of times our young people are hearing so much negative comments about who they are that they become who they are. My husband told me when he was young, his mom used to always, you know, say that, you know, he's taken, like he would go and eat the food, you know. Oh, you're the one who take the food. He said after a while, he heard it so much that he's like, you know what? I'm gonna actually take the food because I'm gonna be blamed for it anyways. So I'm gonna take it. You know? So when a child keeps on hearing, you do good, or you're not gonna turn to nothing, or you're not gonna amount to anything, and you keep saying that, what do you think they're gonna do? Well, you think I'm not gonna amount to anything anyways, so you know what? I'm gonna show you. It's all about the comments. And people think, you know, when I talked about the young people recently and what I thought about them, you had so much, I mean, you had positive responses, but then, you know, some people shared it and they shared it on different platforms, and then you hear the ones attacking. And it's almost like if we've lost our humanity. People are attacking because they're attacking for a color. They're not being bipartisan and say, you know what, or you know what, even if I don't like that lady, I don't support that lady, what she's saying makes sense. So you put all these negative comments about these young people, and these same young people are going to read these comments. And these are the same young people that you want to support you or to support your party and to support your color. But they will see the attacks on them. And people feel that they have to continuously attack and attack and attack. And that's what the young people are tired of hearing. Yesterday, I was in the parking lot with some Grenadian young people, and they told me that. They said, we're tired. They're saying that this one didn't do that and this one didn't do that. We don't want to hear that. We want to hear what's going to be done now. They don't want to hear the attacks. It's petty. It's arrogant. And it's either we're going to win them and all of us win together, or we're going to lose them and we all fall apart.
Indeed. And I think, I know you promised me 1 hour, and we're getting close to the 1 hour mark, but it seems as though we just start the conversation. Because we've dealt into several issues. We mentioned briefly St. David itself. And I want to ask you a question. I hope this question doesn't throw you a curveball, but I know you're a person that wouldn't throw you a curveball. What does St. David really mean to you? What is St. David, and what does it really mean to Nolene?
I'm a born St. Davidsian. You know, a lot of people in St. David's, they weren't born in St. David's, you know, they born in the hospital, like my brothers. But I was born in Grenada, in St. David's, and my neighbor string is still up there, you know. I love St. David's. St. David's, you know, they call us the Virgin Parish. And I believe that there's just so much history in St. David's. So much that can be done in St. David's. We say we are virgin because we don't have a town. God, when you have a place like Six Senses and the new hotel that they're building, and you have clients who want to have dinner at a nice restaurant, and they have to spend 80 US to leave to go down to Grenada to get a nice restaurant. Why can't we have a nice restaurant in St. David's? Why are suppliers of vegetables and you know, things like that have to go to the market in town, or have to go to the market in Grenville to sell their produce? Now, I believe that there's so much potential for St. David's. You know, when you just think of St. David's, we have hills and valleys. We have everything. We have the beaches. We have flatland. We have the mountains. I don't think there's any parish, sorry, you know, that is as beautiful as St. David's is. Yet, we seem to be so oftentimes neglected. Everybody, you know, talks about St. David's, you know, we want to do this in St. David's. When the time comes, do they really do what they say they'll do for St. David's? I want to be that difference. I want to take us from being a virgin parish to being a parish where every other parish envies. Because we have the potential. We totally have the potential. And St. David's people, you know, my husband says to me, he's like, Nolene, why St. David's people nice, sweet? When you go to and my husband likes food. He likes food. And when you come into St. David's, there's always someone who wants to give you something. A mango. He just, you know, we go from place to place. Pineapples, mangoes, cherries. There's always someone willing to offer something in St. David's. Mm-hmm. Generous people. Loving people. You know, you can sit down and talk all kinds of old talk with people in St. David's. I'm not saying that doesn't happen anywhere else, but I'm fighting for my own constituency right now, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we are a great parish. And, you know, lots of my family, most of my family are still in St. David's. They haven't moved anywhere else. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was a man that, you know, he was a supervisor of a lot of lands in St. David's. He was there for Laura, for Lassages, you know. A lot of people remember my grandfather being an overseer for a lot of these properties. You know, Daddy was also a person who started one of the, you know, like the Vincent's Credit Union. You know, so, you know, he was a man that, and I came from, I guess, from a line of people in St. David's. You know, people talk about Michael Andrews an NDC, but Michael Andrews is a close family member. Right? So it's not just, NDC or NNP. We have family members who actually, did so much in St. David's, whether they were NNP or NDC. But again, I don't really want to care. I don't care much about the colors. Yes, I support NNP and I am an NNP. At the end of the day, I want everything for St. David's people. I want St. David's people, regardless to what color that they represent, to benefit, regardless what it is. And I'm going to fight for St. David's, I'm going to fight for St. David's.
and we know that you're a fighter. You've also got your own business. I seem to remember that opening. I can't remember if it's last year or year before. I saw the...
No. We've been around since 2018.
But opening of some aspect of it, yeah.
The disability, for the disability. So yes, we have a vehicle for the disability for people who in wheelchairs. So that was one of the things that we launched recently. Accessibility for people in wheelchairs.
Wonderful. So for folks who have to move from point A to point B and they can't use the traditional transport, they can reach out to your business and you'd be able to transport them.
Yes.
From point A to point B.
Yes.
Wheelchair access specifically.
Yes,
as well.
Fully automated. So you don't need to have someone to be trying to push you in or trying to lift you up. It's fully automated. You press a button and it comes on, goes down. You push on your wheelchair and you lock the wheels. It lifts you up. Inside. So fully automated. You don't have to worry about people throwing you off your wheelchair. So it's fully automated.
Say this though, so those of you who are outside of Grenada and returning to Grenada and need that sort of service, because many times, nearly any of the large flights you see people coming on wheelchairs. Some of them it's just from the aircraft to the terminal, but others you realize they actually have to come out in the wheelchair and so on as well. So the service is available in Grenada. Nobody had to go and lift you up and then put out a disc and all kind of thing. There is a service available. And again, it has to come from people who care. Because you could have decided, no, we're going to make a normal vehicle and so on, do what you have to do. But you saw that, hey, these are differently abled people. They need a service. So it takes people who care to do that kind of thing. So it must be an Olin to do them thing there. And, I remember working along with your mom before. And I remember her, especially with the elderly, and the love that she has for people in general, but that special love that she has for the elderly, that I realized she passed it on to you. I remember going with her to the homes in St. David, especially around the Christmas time. And when you go there with her, prepare to spend the entire day, and outside of preparing to spend the entire day, know that by the time you leave there, each of these elderly people will know your name and they will be asking for you every single time they see you. And I mean, she's a wonderful person. I want to say a special to Joy. I'd like to say a special good evening to Joy. And to Mr. Mancini as well, a special good evening to you as well. And indeed, any closing words from you, Nolene? As I said, we said an hour. We gone just a few minutes over it. But I want to give you an opportunity to make your closing statement at this point in time.
I would say that to everyone that regardless to what color you are, green, yellow, undecided, that we have to raise the level of our conversations. We have to stop assuming ill of each other, and we need to listen more and judge less. At the end of the day, Grenada is ours. Regardless to what color we support, there's still one Grenada. And the only way we will thrive is for us to put down all that animosity towards each other and fuel it with hope and development. As opposed to attacking each other's based on their personality, let's talk about the real thing that matters, our policies, our procedures. These are the things that affect Grenada. We're not gonna all agree on ideologies because we're all different human beings. But at the end of the day, we have one Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique that we must defend. And we can only defend it as one people. So we can argue, but let's argue on facts. We don't have to agree on everything, but let's disagree in peace and being polite and not being attacking people because we feel that somehow that person may win. So my plea, I would say, to us is for us to raise the level of conversation and have empathy, have compassion, and let's talk about the reality that we're facing. You know, we have debt, lots of debt that we need to talk about. We have things like corruption that we need to talk about and address. There's so much out there that we need to address. So it's not about attacking personalities. We are in opposition, and it is our right to ask questions. It is our right to bring out things if it's being hidden, bring it to light. That is the purpose of an opposition. So you cannot attack the opposition because you feel that we are attacking you. It is our responsibility to bring things to light for the Grenadian people to understand and have the facts of what is happening in our country, and for us to take it on a different level. So I think that will be my closing, is for us to be responsible, and for us as the opposition to not quit because we are doing what we're supposed to do. And we will continue doing what we're supposed to do. And we will ask the hard questions. But we want people to respect that this is our role, and we are working and doing what we need to do in our role.
Indeed. Folks, we've been speaking with Mrs. Nolene Thompson, the new National Party caretaker for the constituency of St. David. And we'd like to once again thank you so very much for taking the time to speak with us today. And indeed, as I said, this is pre-recorded. This is pre-recorded. We didn't even get a chance to speak about some of the meetings that I saw you were having in the last few days, but we're going to do that one soon. When you've completed your round of meetings, we're going to speak on that one. So once again, we'd like to thank you so very much for being on with us tonight. And indeed, we look forward to having you on very soon again. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But one thing I will say really quickly is that one of the meetings, the persons that I've met is someone who deals with accessibility for seniors, because it's important for us to learn how to engage our seniors and for us to create resources for them as well. So one of the persons that I did meet was someone who was responsible for accessibility for seniors.
Indeed. So, Mrs. Thompson, we'll be in touch. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Okay, bye-bye.
Yes, indeed, folks. I've been speaking there with Mrs. Nolene Thompson, and we were discussing quite a wide range of areas. And as I said, this is pre-recorded, so I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more talking points for you. Yes, indeed, folks. And there you've had it. The interview with Mrs. Nolene Thompson, and quite a lot came out during that interview tonight there. Yeah. And you all recognize something. Mrs. Nolene Thompson spoke for a little over an hour, and not once did she go out there attacking the present MP of St. David. Not once did she go out there going on some sort of nasty attack on the NDC. She spoke about what she believes in, some of what she has met going out there in St. David. She has not gotten into the gutter and said, well, the Prime Minister this, and he should have known to do that, and he should have do this, and she hasn't gone into that direction at all. She has simply stated, this is what I am about. This is how I feel about St. David and the people of St. David and the people of Grenada by extension. And these are some of the issues that I hold close to my heart, and these are my views in relation to it, and these are some of the projections of what the new National Party will do when they are returned to office. Yeah? So you notice, no attacks on nobody and all kind of thing. I say my thing in between, but no attacks on nobody and that sort of thing. Huh? She hasn't got time for that sort of thing. Yeah. Or the younger folks might have said, she ain't there on them vibes. Yeah, she ain't there on them kind of vibes at all. Folks, we're going to take your calls. We still have roughly 34 minutes remaining. Or so, about 34 minutes remaining on tonight's program. And I know once we're in Studio 3, we could go a little later than that. Yeah, we've got a caller online. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Sheldon Scott.
All right. Yes, good night. Go right ahead, caller. You're live.
I like me too. She from St. David. From St. David locking 24/7. Big up St. David boys on it. She looked very good tonight.
All right. Excellent.
Yeah. She don't no party. The colors. She not running no party. I like that. So I already seen her. Thomas, good night to you, James Arnold.
All right, my brother.
Okay, big up.
You have a good one, man. Yes, indeed. One of the constituents of St. David checking in there. Yes, indeed. And just realizing that I got quite a bit of messages here that came in. As I said, I kind of was rushing. You know, it's a kind of lucky thing that we had pre-recorded because I was a bit late, and all know that now we starting probably. So again, once again, the phone lines are open. 1-473-440-7377. Yeah, they're open. Yes, indeed. And I realized today, all over the place, everybody keep talking about the video that me, all you want to put me in trouble. All over, I kept hearing about this. Boy, you see the video? 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 A video that has been circulating today. I mean, let me see. Yeah, I will show my version of it. Yeah. I will show my version. Before I go to that, let me go to this. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, bro.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good.
Yes, sir.
2 points, Ms. Thompson, bring out this evening, and I will second the motion. The first one is with the students, the young people. Where she talk about the age of 5, you should be able to identify the the skills of interest. And if you go to Proverbs 22:6, he said, you train up a child in the way that he should go, that when he get old, he not depart. So that's where the child coming with the skills to develop them from start, instead of pushing them towards high college degree, and they have no need for it. The parents want to beat them to be doctors and nurses and clerks in the bank, and they have no interest in that. They want a spade and a fork, and they can't get to do that. So give them the giftings, let them work with it, train them up, find the support for them to walk along the lines. And the next one I like to stand out with her with is that we could make St. David's, I'm not from St. David's, but I'm a Grenadian. We could make a St. David's a state-of-the-art tongue, another tongue, develop that to be a state-of-the-art modern day. Good night. Have a great one. Love you all.
All right. Thank you. Love you as well, my brother. Yes, indeed. And yeah, only feel like playing it. Yeah, only. No, only will tell me that is AI. Come on, if only don't understand how AI works, say only don't understand how AI works. Now, I ain't showing the lady face, why should I do that? Yeah? I'm not showing she face, I'm not showing she badge number. I mean, the Royal Grenada Police Force know she badge number and they know she face. I don't think it is necessary to do that to the young lady. We do not know the full circumstance and situation. All I go say is the man grabbing tight. He grab it, hold on. We have a call online. Hello, good night, man. Good night.
You ain't no call on no line.
Yeah, I ain't no call on no. Okay, let me hang up one time.
That ain't no call on line. This is AI.
This
is AI.
I could tell you something, brother. I have been following AI for maybe since before it become mainstream. There were things like face swap and all these things. Those things.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, those things.
I remember.
It would take days.
We had those conversations.
Yeah, and it would take days for some of these things to render a video and that sort of thing, and still it didn't look realistic. So I've been involved and known about AI since back then, and how to identify false videos from since then.
The fakes.
So when somebody come and tell me that this video fake, they have to be crazy. If it fake, the individual in the video could feel free to take me to court.
Yes.
They could feel free.
Yes.
And then all we shall simply do is request
I'm on the radio.
Yeah, you're on the radio. Wait. Yeah. So we shall simply request the information from the TikTok account. We could write to TikTok legally.
Yes.
And request the information, and we can legally request the device of the individual who posted it. So we could legally require those things. So I mean, if they want to take me to court for putting it up, they could go right ahead. We have no problem. My lawyers would love writing to TikTok and so on.
Well, we no money now, man. Get the money now. Find you taking long. I find you encouraging them enough. I need that money, you know.
No, yeah. Remember the last time the same individual, ACP, I believe he is now, or DCP. I'm not sure if it's ACP or DCP.
I am not sure either.
I think it's DCP though, and I think he's actually acting commissioner of police right now.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, the last time this individual was involved in any kind of thing, well, not the last, but one of the last times.
One of the times.
Because just on Sunday, we heard he was the one that walked Senator, then removed the Senator Lacrette. He was the one that walked him to Ikat.
Walk him out. Yes.
That's what we hear. You know, he was the one that walked the man to kick him out.
Outside it. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, somebody said right. Yeah, but what I'm saying, just remember, back in 2020, that was the same individual with the voice note thing, and then he say, it sounds so much like he would have believed it's he too, you know?
He would have believed it was him, yeah.
So now he go say,
but that man it was him.
Now he go say, that man look at me so much, boy, I could have sworn
but it wasn't, it's not he. It's not me. He resemble me real bad.
Yeah, but
real bad.
That man resemble
he could. You remember the old people is always saying, boy, that man could pass like me twin, you know. So
AI,
that's the situation right
AI
now.
always makes certain errors, and if you know what errors those are in the rendering process,
Yes,
you
you know
can
how to
easily
get
tell.
around it.
Yeah, you could
Mm.
not get around it, but you could easily tell that something has been generated, computer
Modified. Yeah.
generated. Yeah,
Yeah.
this
That's
is
what I mean.
this
Yeah.
is not computer generated. So all of those NDC out there, try that with people that don't know technology,
All
don't
right.
know about these things. Try that with somebody else. Don't try that with
But
people
in
like
22, but in 22, the prime minister's speeches and everything was AI. So they think they think they discovered AI, and nobody else in Grenada know about AI. So AI is a tool that they have all findings to use, with the exception of anybody else. So it's only them know about AI. It's just that simple,
It is
you know.
definitely not AI. I am hearing some additional information which I cannot confirm in relation to this situation.
Let me call you on the other phone and we go have a conversation.
Yeah. You call me on the other phone after the program.
I'll call you on the other phone. But Sheldon, you get a thing I tell you to buy. I tell you to get something and look into something. Did you get it?
I can't remember what you're
Because
talking about. You know, my
all
net must
right,
be hot these days.
I go tell you on the other phone. First,
If
secondly,
you know where I come from to reach back here in time to
yeah,
do the program,
to
we
do
go
the
talk. We go talk. We go talk off.
we'll talk.
Yeah.
But I want to take this opportunity because you have, as someone say, I'm quoting. It's not those are not my words. I'm quoting the words of Talking Point, a couple of Talking Point listeners. Talking Point is a cult. So,
who's saying that about we program?
oh God, I will tell you on the other phone. I will tell you on the other phone.
God.
But to the cult member, Sheldon, I wasn't prepared. First of all, I was knocked over my head with a hammer a couple times to do that ad. It's an ad I know I had to do since 22, 23. But I was trying to make sure I have certain things in place to accommodate when when the ads and them hit. I'm close, but I'm not there 100%. But some real good friends kept nagging and kept pushing and kept pushing. And then I have a guy who have developed my app, one of my apps. I showed him, a quick synopsis of the service. And this man, he's Pakistani, but he lives in London, and he wouldn't let up. And I also introduced him to some other people in Brooklyn who needed services, needed service. And he got with them and everybody. So I was like, okay. So I wrote the script, I voiced it, and I did all that. And because I said, listen, I'm not ready to do the voicing and all of that because two of the guys in Brooklyn keep saying, bro, you have to voice that. You have to put your voice. So I was like, no. But anyway, the guy said, all right, voice it, and I will take it from there. So he voiced it. I guess he used AI or whatever to enhance the audio. And from that time, you drop the ad. I'll be honest with you. I send the ad to you. I sent it to Kennedy with Star FM in Grenville. And I sent it to one of my station affiliated in St. Lucia and Miami. Charlotte, yesterday, I'm going through that phone that is attached to that number. And I'm finding messages way back in May. All right?
You have people waiting. All right, okay.
Bro.
People since May waiting.
And it's not just me.
I'm not playing it again.
No. You're cutting your own show. You're cutting your own show. That's why I'm calling tonight. I am calling tonight. Okay, here I will enhance your beauty right now. I will change your features. To all the folks that listens to Talking Point, to the members of the Talking Point cult or the family of Talking Point who has reached out to We Noise TV and you figure you haven't heard back from us, I humbly apologize. I humbly apologize.
You get away. I actually feel the place shake there and all just now, That's what
the influx of calls we have received and text messages and WhatsApp messages. Between myself and 5 individuals, we are still catching up. Everybody hasn't signed up or subscribed or anything, but 80% of the people are interested, and it's because of where they are located in the Caribbean or the places they had to get their finances, certain things in place. Because some people is like, okay, so how we get the money to you? And I'll say, okay, where you are? You're in Trinidad. All right. So, we work on these logistics, right? And once again, I humbly apologize.
Let me give you something then. You can call Gary at GoToFet. I can get his number to you. And
okay, do that.
He has an app that, in fact, that's what's up right now on the YouTube page for Talking Points. It's up on the Facebook page and so on, where folks can donate. It can also be used as a means of paying you. So you can speak to Gary at GoToFet. And
I prefer to work with Gary.
Yeah, they can
use to work with Gary.
They can use their card and they can pay.
I prefer to work with Gary because my part of my principal business is to work with my people. Yeah, some of them is whatever they are and who they are and how they operate. I have a guy developing an app for me. But if there's something out there that's already existing, I will put a pause on that and work with Gary. So send me the information, I'll reach out and we talk. Now, Sheldon, I'll pick up the phone. When I realize I have these messages, I will send a message immediately to them. So I sat down 3 o'clock this morning and I went into the WhatsApp business account and tried to send a response message and all of that. So when I see the message, I see the missed call, the call or message, I just say, we apologize for the late response. Send out an official message, whatever. You can reach us back for any questions. We answer all questions because some people want information. And I will say to them, the information is so intense and so much, it's easier for you to talk to us. All right? Even if I direct you to the website, you still need to talk to us. And then I will follow up with a call. And I didn't assign it to nobody else. I took care of all those calls. Now, tell me why. Oh gosh, please help out our brother. Every individual I spoke to, from the time they answered the phone, and I said, "Hello, hi, this is Wade from We Know." Yeah. I hear you on Sheldon. I hear you on Sheldon program. And Sheldon keep asking for you to call.
I must start doing paid advertising, boy. I must really start
There is a young lady in Texas. I said, "Not you too." She said, "Yes, me too." I said, "Lady, every person
boy,
I have
Texas
spoke
people
to."
alone. I love my Texas people. Get up.
Bro, come on. We do it big in Texas.
I've been to Texas. I love Texas, man.
Love Texas. You do it big in Texas. And she said, "Well, the husband and I is on vacation right now, but talk to me." And she took the time to ask questions. And then she said, "I'll be home on Thursday. I'm calling you on Friday." And she's on board. But I want the listeners to understand the number that you are WhatsApping, you can still send your messages. But if you see we do not respond within 24 hours or whatever, you feel free to give us a call. You will get a quicker response with a call. Please understand. To my Grenadian folks that are reaching out, there is a young man from a certain part in the north of St. Patrick's. I haven't had his permission to call his name, but as I said, he's only a king living in a palace. He will know who I'm speaking of. This man got to New York, called me, and I was in Canada, and I said, "Sir, I'm in Canada." He said, "Listen, I'm going back to Grenada on this date." He came back last night. He came back to Grenada yesterday. I am going back. I say, "Okay, here I'll be back before you leave, and as soon as I get back, I'll make a date to you, and I'll come and give you a demonstration." He said, "I don't need a demonstration. I have 2 TVs, and what do I need?" And I explained to him, and Sheldon, that's the most gentle, not the most, one of the most gentle souls as a Grenadian I've run into in a long time. in a long time.
Wait, you know,
So
I only have like
15 minutes.
less than that remaining.
We ain't going there tonight because you've been begging for me to call, and everybody keeps saying, Sheldon,
Yeah,
say,
already,
wait,
you know,
call,
because
wait, call.
you're
But
treating
I'm not
people
gonna,
bad.
I'm not
Already.
gonna spin a googly on your top and your little smooth top. So I'm going to wrap up right now. I just want to once again apologize to the people who has been reaching out to us. As I said, if you message us and you don't get a response in 12, within 12 or so, feel free to call that number via WhatsApp. You will always get someone will pick up. Quickly we will pick up. Somebody will pick up. And folks, one of the things I want to explain, because one person told me she got a service that is similar, and I said to her, okay, it might be similar, but it never will be the same. So she's listening, and as I said to her yesterday, remember the conversation we had. If you call 6 months from now, just mention that conversation, and you will be the price you got quoted to yesterday, it will still stand. We will honor that price. It's the best service. I'm not saying it because I'm the CEO of the company. I'm saying it because I believe in it. There's other people that believe in it, that pays me. The bill is not due till the 20th of the month, and they pay me at the beginning of the month. They pay me in months in advance. They pay me for a whole year, and so forth. The young lady that you interviewed earlier on tonight said something where she sold her house, her car, and all of those things. I could understand and share her sentiment. When I started We Noise FM, I sold all my luxury cars. I sold out a part of my business and everything to start We Noise FM in New York. When I started during COVID in 2020, I was researching this TV service thing from 2016, 17. But during COVID, when everything was shut down, I was able to do a lot more research and, got further. I depleted my bank accounts. The only money that was in my bank account is what was the minimum allowed. So TD Bank, you cannot go under $100. I threw everything out and I left 160 or 180 in my 3 TD Bank accounts in the US and in Canada to do this. All right. So folks, it wouldn't be today. It won't be maybe tomorrow. But the cable companies in America, they're trying to catch up with us. So
my time.
what's your time?
Time.
You talk to me later. Give me another day. I'll call in and I will be able to answer any questions. People could call in and we have a conversation pertaining to that. My friend, have a good night. I appreciate the fact that you get things sorted out. So We FM family, We Noise family could hear you nightly on the radio.
Right.
I gone.
All right.
Kelly, you want to say bye? My daughter say bye.
All right. Later, wait.
We talk later. Call me later on.
I'll
when
call you after the
in.
show, yeah.
All right, my friend. Have a blessed one.
Yes, indeed. Same to you. Yes, indeed, folks. Yeah. We were kind of into something when Wade called, but Wade. Wade. And I was just about to get into this because remember, a certain person was saying that was not them. Yeah. Remember this one? Let me see. Remember this one? Let's see if you could remember this.
Okay, guys, listen up. I want everybody to listen to me. Those of you who are not vaccinated, those of us who are not vaccinated, please wear your mask, avoid crowd. This is getting nasty. We have an emergency meeting that's going to happen in a while. We do not know how we're going to face this because we do not have the infrastructure, we do not have the institutions to handle this. We need to stay safe. Those of us who don't need to go to work, please stay home. Those of us who have to go to work, take all the precautions that you need to take. Carnival has unleashed the virus on Grenada. We are in a dire situation right now, and there is panic from the government. With the government panic, everything gone haywire, we all are in trouble. Let's do what we need to do to stay safe. Please, 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 please.
All right, so that was the voice note that came out that Mr. Cohen said wasn't he. The man clearly said, he said that, man, if you did listen to yourself, you that think is he. He said is not he. I remember he called plead your cause. Yeah, he did call plead your cause. Yes, he called plead your cause. In relation to that, yeah.
And came from me. And as I indicated before, I categorically deny that this information came from me. And as
oh, by the way, that was the 23rd of August 2021. You know, I like to give exact dates when things happen. So that was a call to WFM, the 23rd of August 2021. But you say it wasn't he, so?
Categorically deny that this information came from me. And as I indicated before, from what I know, the contents of this information is not factual in that some of the things it alluded to is things that I know to be incorrect. For instance, the aspersion that was made about what's happening in the police force. As I indicated, we have only one case in the police force. It's not widespread in the police force. So yes, caller, I want to categorically deny that voice note came from me. Shaggy, I heard it myself, and I had to convince myself that is not me. Honestly,
you had to convince yourself it's not you. I wonder why you had to convince yourself that it's not you if you know it's not you.
And I had to convince myself that is not me. Honestly, the contents of it, not contents, but the intonation, the voice. Because I have a distinctive voice. I mean, people can just hear me speak and people just point me out. And I had to listen to it several times to even convince myself that it's not me. So, caller, yes, I categorically deny that came from me. And that is exactly what I'm here to say. So if I did not say it before, I have said it now, because that's what I'm here for.
Okay, so the man said it wasn't he, so we don't know. Maybe we might hear that this one is not him as well. So maybe we might, oh, nah, me ain't playing that tune. They all mad, they want me to get in trouble here. I don't want that tune in the background. If I had to play a tune for that, I know what tune to play. You and I, yeah, me only want to go and put in trouble. Me. Yeah, me only want to go and put in trouble the other Me only want to go and put in trouble. All right, nice, yeah. Mm-hmm. At least it sounded, the other one song so convincing that it actually convinced the Royal Grenada Police Force to do a little thing into it. Remember that? Yeah. The Royal Grenada Police Force had to end up doing investigation in relation to it and so on. And we might have to say a 2 minutes extra, but we are mine, yeah. Where's this thing? Come.
Number of issues also in the media surrounding the RGPF. And I want to state here that the issue relating to the voice note that went viral on social media. Of course, we had Superintendent Kerwin, who the voice note purported to be, having a response in various platforms of the media, indicating his response to the voice note. Notwithstanding his response, I want to assure you that this matter is currently under investigation, under active investigation at this point in time. There has been another issue viral in social media involving an incident at Victoria purporting to have a senior officer involved. This matter is also under investigation.
No, I wonder, was that other senior officer or was it another senior officer? Anyhow, me only looking the thing, only people looking to put me in trouble here tonight. Just remember that within the Royal Grenada Police Force, there are specific rules. Within the Royal Grenada Police Force, there's the Police Force Act, and within the Police Force Act, there are specific instructions as to behaviors between officers. Yeah? There are specific rules in relation to behavior. I wonder where's that one? There's one here that I want to pull up. Yeah. In relation to that, no, not you. No, not you either. Yeah. But there is specific to behaviors. Let me take this call while I search for that. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Caller, you're live. Go right ahead.
Hey, good night, Sheldon. Good night, Talking Points. How you do?
I'm more than good.
Sheldon.
I'm more than good.
The video that I played with the two people, were one blurred out and one is clearly seen. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that the same gentleman that was given a private tour that was unauthorized, that I understood was unauthorized?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of the whole headquarters?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Maybe that was so. I don't know. Maybe that was so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Can
right. You feel the love?
I just want to congratulate Miss Nolan Thompson on great interview. I mean, this lady is refreshing. She come to the point. She gave her ideas, and she gives solutions. This is what we want. Not take job, and charging people $350 and still giving a ticket. Not paying people to come Carriacou and see from the road something they build. Ministers paying for 20 tickets and all kind of nonsense, spending great and tax money. Let it continue. But anyhow, Sheldon, once again, this government is using diversion tactics. And I have been saying nothing. I said in all these. These men are going to say that these little clips that we played will be AI'd. I've been saying that at all programs. I knew it was coming.
No,
I know they're going to say
they
that.
know they have an intention to use AI. So they're jumping in front now with the AI excuse. They know very well they have an intention to utilize AI in a negative way. That's what has been used in campaigns throughout the world right now. People have been producing videos of people in compromising situations, etc. But the good thing about AI is that you, if you know what you're looking at, can tell whether it's AI or not. AI always makes specific mistakes. And if you know what those mistakes are, you can within less than 10 seconds tell when a video is real or when it is real AI.
Yeah, one real mistake in AI is picture merging or background merging. You will see your displays merging in the background where your fingers might be longer and stuff. Anyhow, we ain't going to show that because people like me and you and others who know these things, we know these things. But let me tell you this, you see, it's like when the Prime Minister was the Minister of Finance and he was using the teleprompter as if nobody NMP wasn't using that before as the administration before.
And bro, I got to wrap with you in like 30 seconds to 1 minute. Go ahead,
Yeah, quickly. So people were thinking this man was talking from his head and, oh, great speech, my foot, right? But lastly, have you seen the best Calypsonian in Grenada taking a jab at the present Prime Minister? Have you seen the clip of that one from Grenville Saturday night?
Yes, I have. Nothing surprising there. You're a Calypsonian, you're looking for popularity, you want to win a crown, you want to remain popular, do what is necessary as far as they're concerned.
All I'm saying is that, boss, this gentleman is not Dr. Keith Mitchell. Good luck. Have a good night, Sheldon.
All right, my brother. Yes, indeed, folks. Yeah, and let me just run over this piece of information quickly for you because all the fun and games and all the jokes and so, this is a serious matter. Yeah? The Police Force Act speaks to the behavior of both commissioned and non-commissioned officers, non-commissioned inspector, sergeant, corporal, etc. And, constable is not a non-commissioned officer, cadet, those sort of things. And then you have the commissioned officer in the ranks above and so, if I remember correctly. from when I was involved at a specific level. Non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers, this goes for them too, should, and this is part of the Police Act, this is the law of Grenada. Non-commissioned officers should never forget the position they hold and must do all in their power to maintain their authority. Undue familiarity, and that looked very familiar to me, that kind of hugging and hand around waist, hug up kind of thing, and chin in neck and thing. Undue familiarity with constables is forbidden as tending to interfere with impartiality in the performance of their duties. In other words, the senior ranks need to be very careful of their interactions with the junior ranks. Yeah? Whether male or female, whether male or female. The senior ranks always need to be cautious of their interaction with the junior ranks. You know it is illegal for officers to borrow money from each other. You know it is illegal for a police officer to go to a lending institution and borrow more money than they know they can pay back. There are several rules that's so wrong. There are the standing orders, there's the Police Act. There are several sets of rules that guide what police officers can and cannot do. And the head honcho, in most instances, outside of the Public Service Commission, the head honcho to deal with that is the Commissioner of Police, who is also the person that is in charge of giving people the stripes, as we just say, they give them the stripes, or promotions. Yeah, you could get promotion to the Public Service Commission, yes, there's that avenue. But in 2021, when the laws were amended, it also gave the Commissioner of Police the ability to rise people in rank, to give promotions. And the individual who has to do the investigation of what we are seeing there, to say whether it's AI, to say whether it's real, and to dish out punishment in relation to that behavior, the individual is the Commissioner of Police. But the individual happens to be the acting Commissioner of Police. At least from the information I received today. They are the acting commissioner because the substantive commissioner, from what we've been picking up, is out of the state. So they are the substantive, substantive commissioner at this point in time. So they have to investigate themselves. Who are we reporting it to? The same individual who's involved is who is being reported to. Remember that the same person, like I say on Sunday, who escort him down to the office and then escort him out of the building. And you hear one caller was just talking about him escorting people around the place and all kind of thing. Again, we expect that this government is going to try to sweep this under the carpet. We've already seen their minions out there trying to say, well, you're putting that up. If it was a senior member of the Royal Grenada Police Force who was closely aligned with the New National Party in some form or format, they would have taken it and they'd have played old mass with it. You would have seen it on the streets for Juve morning. It would have been there. You would have seen it all over. Lions Old Mass. You would have heard it in Calypso. You would have seen it in every avenue they could have get. They would have jammed the NNPI with it. But because it is a person who is perceived by many to be a supporter of the National Democratic Congress, all of them run in front and saying AI, AI, AI. I tell them already, 3 days I don't deal with stupidness each week. Today, tomorrow, and yesterday, I do not deal with stupidness. If it is AI, the individual involved could feel very free. Take me to court. No problem. I know you could be the one paying me. Take me to court. There's no problem. Take anybody that's putting it out to court, because that's what they run out there saying, all you care for what all you're putting on your page, because it could be because they're trying to frighten people. But if the same video was of a New National Party affiliated individual, bet your bottom dollar they would have sent it to every contact on the contact list. They'd have it up on the page and laughing, keep, ha, 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 under it. The same individuals. But once again, the danger of a situation like this is that you have a junior officer who we are not sure is in that position willingly or unwillingly Because the officer who hung up tight there, that officer is a senior officer, and at this point in time, from what we're hearing, you can't even get more senior than that within the police force. And even when the substantive officer in charge comes back, that person is still about second in line to the person who is the substantive. So we ask ourselves, we've already lost trust in many of our organizations, and so in Grenada, we don't trust the GDB. We don't trust the NLA. We don't trust the cabinet. And obviously, we don't trust the NDC. But now you're trying to put, oh God, don't put the police force in that tuna. Take action. Take action. People want me to say, boy, you don't go and say nothing, them go come after. I don't care. Do all you have to do. I don't care. Yeah? Whenever, however, whenever, no problem. Do all you have to do. But the bottom line is what is taking place there is wrong. You know it's wrong according to the Police Act. You know it's wrong according to the standing orders of the Royal Grenada Police Force. You know it is wrong. You know that you're not supposed to be doing it. There you are, grinning like a Cheshire cat. People don't say Cheshire, it's not Cheshire. It's a Cheshire cat. And you're there, pausing. And now it out, they come in and talk about AI. Yeah, we were here about AI. This needs to be investigated. If we have any decency within the country called Grenada again, this will be investigated and let the chips fall where they may. If it means somebody had to go down in rank, they have to go down in rank. I know men go down in rank for less than that. If they had to go down in rank, they go down in rank. If they had to retire, go out the force, let them go out the force. Whatever needs to take place, let it take place. Many of you go afraid to talk. I am afraid. I'm saying it as it is. That needs to be investigated. In the same way that Andy Williams needs to be investigated. In the same way that the National Lottery needs to be investigated. In the same way, all of these different things need to be investigated. But I know, right now, I think the Prime Minister probably have a rug that about 10 feet high. That rug, it's about 10 feet off the ground right now because the amount of things that's sweeping under that, there is no way that rug could still be flat on the ground. The amount of things that's sweeping under the rug. Sweep that one under the rug too. Folks, that's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being here. In whatever you say and whatever you do, do it safe and secure. Want to be speaking to, I want to be speaking with you, and definitely not about you. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'm out of here. Let me see if I have a song to go with. Boy, I think I have a song to go with, you know. Yeah. She say, I'm the kind of... Right, I'm